Well, welcome. We are in the midst of King Jesus 2020, a season in which we're considering 10 commitments for political engagement, and we're praying for our hearts, our church, and our world. Today, I want to talk about the commitment to love. In this commitment, we say, I commit to participating in civic life as a means of loving and serving my neighbor rather than serving my own interests. We live in a world today that is confused about love. That word gets used so often to say so little. One of my favorite definitions of the idea of love comes from Paul Tripp. He says that love is the willing self-sacrifice for the good of another that does not expect repayment or that the person is deserving. Jesus had a lot to say about love, and he cared deeply about it. When some of the teachers of law asked him what the greatest commandment was, he said, the greatest commandment is to love God with everything that you have and to love your neighbor as yourself. And then those same teachers went on to ask him, hey, who's my neighbor if I'm supposed to love him the way I love myself? And Jesus said, he basically told the story of the Good Samaritan, where he highlighted a man that many in his company would have considered the last, the lost, and the least. You see, Jesus lived his life on the margins of society. He lived with people that others disregarded. And these were the very people that he called us to love. He noticed people that the majority in his culture overlooked. Perhaps one of the greatest lies that the enemy has told us in our modern world is that our job is not to love the last, the lost, and the least, directly at least. Rather, through the wonders of modern economics, if we simply act selfishly and prioritize our own gain overall, an invisible hand will lift these economic currents and provide for the needs of everyone in our society and lead to salvation and flourishing. But this is not the way of Jesus. He did not work to achieve his own advancement, status, or wealth. Rather, he gave these things up. Scripture says he didn't consider equality with God a thing to be grasped, but rather he made himself nothing. He emptied himself. He took on the very form of a servant. You see, when it comes to love, Jesus showed us a very different way. The brokenness in our world will not be healed by greed and self-protection. Rather, God heals the brokenness in us and in our world through grace and self-giving. During this season, let's follow the example of Jesus, who gave himself in love to the last, the lost, and the least. He considered those on the margins of society. These are our neighbors, and we're called to love them. God bless. Have a great day.